Slavery became a major political issue as conflict grew between North and South. Abraham Lincoln opposed its expansion and debated Stephen Douglas, promoting equality and unity. His powerful speeches and leadership during this period increased his popularity and prepared him for a larger role in national politics. Welcome to Reality Flash, where every second is a door to the unexplained. Here, we don't just tell stories, we awaken your curiosity about the mysteries that shape our world. Stay with us, and let the journey redefine time itself. Meanwhile, the issue of slavery gradually became extremely important in American politics. Until then, the Southern states had enjoyed greater political influence. In the early 19th century, cotton production increased, and global demand also rose. As cotton cultivation expanded, the demand for enslaved labor in the South increased as well. The founders of the United States had believed that this unjust system would eventually disappear on its own. Those thoughtful individuals did not foresee that the growing demand for cotton would further strengthen slavery. On the other hand, opposition to slavery in the northern states was becoming increasingly intense. Various activist groups were willing to adopt any means to abolish this humiliating system. Radical abolitionists were even ready to cause bloodshed and civil war to end slavery. In their view, human freedom was a divine right, greater than any man-made law. Around 1850, the northern states surpassed the southern states in population and economic strength. As the North grew stronger, the South became increasingly anxious. As mentioned earlier, disputes arose over whether new states joining the Union would permit slavery. The question of whether the North or the South would dominate became closely tied to the moral issue of maintaining or abolishing slavery. At this time, Abraham Lincoln came into prominence alongside Stephen Douglas. In many ways, Douglas and Lincoln were complete opposites. When Lincoln was still an unknown lawyer, Douglas was already a well-known public figure. Lincoln was tall, while Douglas was short. Douglas was energetic and lively, whereas Lincoln was calm and reserved. Douglas easily captivated audiences, while Lincoln was modest and often hesitant. Lincoln was thoughtful and deliberate, while Douglas was full of restless energy. Douglas cleverly passed the Kansas-Nebraska Act in the U.S. Congress. As a result, the slavery issue, previously controlled through the Missouri Compromise, re-emerged with intensity. The Missouri Compromise had stated that territories north of latitude 36 degrees 30 minutes would be free from slavery. However, the new law allowed the residents of Kansas and Nebraska to decide for themselves whether to permit slavery. This law triggered strong protests in the northern states. Many believed it gave slavery a chance to expand under the guise of democracy. Editors, intellectuals, and citizens strongly opposed it. Public meetings across northern cities condemned the law. During this period, in 1852, Harriet Beecher Stowe's famous novel Uncle Tom's Cabin was published. The novel portrayed the tragic suffering of an enslaved black family and became immensely popular. Its success reflected the growing public opposition to slavery. Some even claimed that just as Dinabanju Mitra's Nil Darpan influenced indigo reforms in India, Uncle Tom's Cabin helped bring an end to slavery in America. As public opinion grew against Douglas's law, abolitionists gained support. People began sheltering runaway enslaved individuals, even defying the law. In the South, Douglas remained popular, but in the North, he became deeply disliked. He was even portrayed as a villain and compared to Judas. In this tense situation, Abraham Lincoln seemed to awaken from a long period of inactivity. He re-entered politics with renewed energy. Despite his legal career, he began studying American history deeply, especially the history of slavery, preparing himself for a larger role. Lincoln challenged Douglas in debates. Douglas defended the Kansas-Nebraska Act, while Lincoln delivered one of his first major speeches opposing it. Using logic and historical facts, Lincoln dismantled Douglas's arguments. Around this time, the anti-slavery Republican Party was formed, and Lincoln later became one of its key leaders. Violence broke out in Kansas over the slavery issue. Fraudulent elections led to pro-slavery victories, which many refused to accept. The situation escalated into violence, with Americans killing each other over whether black people were human beings or merely property. Lincoln wrote that the nation had once declared all men are equal, but now seemed to mean all men are equal except black people. He believed that although black people might not be equal in every aspect, they had equal rights to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Lincoln could no longer avoid politics. He joined the Republican Party and participated actively. Though firmly opposed to slavery, he remained moderate and rejected violence. His balanced approach made him widely acceptable within the party. At a major convention, Lincoln delivered a powerful speech condemning violence and opposing the Kansas-Nebraska Act. He called for restoring the Missouri Compromise and warned that the Union must remain united. His speech was widely applauded and brought him closer to national prominence. At the Republican National Convention, John C. Fremont was nominated for president, though Lincoln was considered for vice president. However, Fremont lost the election, and Democrat James Buchanan became president. Buchanan supported slaveholders and lacked strong leadership, worsening the national crisis. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court declared the Missouri Compromise unconstitutional and denied citizenship rights to black people, further inflaming tensions in the North. Lincoln again debated Douglas. Douglas argued that people should decide slavery locally and opposed racial equality. Lincoln countered that denying equality contradicted the nation's founding principles. He warned that accepting inequality for black people could justify denying rights to others as well. Lincoln emphasized that throughout history, the struggle between justice and injustice had continued. One side believed in freedom and equality, the other justified exploitation and domination. He argued that such unjust reasoning had always been used to oppress others. Through these speeches, Lincoln's ideas matured and his ability to express them grew stronger. The debates between Lincoln and Douglas became increasingly intense. Eventually, they agreed to face each other directly in public debates, which greatly increased Lincoln's visibility and political standing. Thank you for watching Reality Flash. If this journey inspired you, be sure to subscribe, click the bell icon, and share your thoughts. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next adventure.